Late-night host Jimmy Kimmel made his return to television last night.
ABC, along with media companies Nexstar and Sinclair, took him off the air after comments he made about Charlie Kirk's shooter. ABC decided to air his show again, but Nexstar and Sinclair are preempting it indefinitely.
Nexstar, of course, owns The Hill. Nexstar wrote in part in a statement, quote, "We stand by that decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve." Here's a bit of what Kimmel had to say in his return to TV.
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is, you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what it was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make.
Of course, Kimmel couldn't help but take some jabs at President Trump. Let's watch.
You almost have to feel sorry for him. He did his best to cancel me. Instead, he forced millions of people to watch the show. That backfired bigly. He might have to release the Epstein files to distract us from this now.
President Trump wrote in part on Truth Social last night that he couldn't believe Kimmel got his job back and that the comedian has no talent. He continued, quote, "He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative." Joining us now to discuss is NewsNation contributor Steve Krakauer. Steve, welcome back to Rising.
Thanks, Rob. That was a nice little Trump voice in the Truth Social reading. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. I consider it a Trump cadence, not a full impression.
Sure.
I appreciate it. So what did you make of Kimmel being back? So what I'm seeing from social media is that conservatives are not at all satisfied with the sort of apology he gave. I mean, he apologized if people were offended, clarified that he doesn't want any violence, but he didn't clarify that he feels he was wrong for blaming the right or Tyler Robinson being part of the right. What was your takeaway?
Yeah, Rob, you know me. I spend way too much time on X. But I really tried to watch this without seeing any other reaction to it, and just to kind of take it in, see what this was. It was a 17-minute monologue. Obviously, part of it, which you played, was specifically about the Charlie Kirk assassination, the what happened there. Then it was about him canceling and the Brendan Carr, and he went after Brendan. But here's what I would say. He actually didn't even go do the mealy-mouthed, "I'm sorry if you were offended." He actually never apologized or said, "I'm sorry," or said I was wrong at all. It wasn't even if you're offended. It was never my intention to do this. It was never my intention to do that. It was actually shockingly weak. I would say it was more of a double down than it was any sort of reach out to the other side. And I think he couched himself. He sort of draped himself in the thing that he often does, which is cry. And I'm not trying to take anything away from his tears as if they're not real, but that was where he went. It was crying about the loss of someone. Didn't actually say Charlie Kirk's name. The young man is what he said. He did it again at the end when he mentioned Erica and described how powerful her forgiveness for the killer of Charlie Kirk was. That was it. And so yeah, I think that, it would have done wonders if Jimmy Kimmel went out there and said, "Listen, I'm really sorry that this went this way. I was wrong to kind of go and start making jokes about this thing. Let's all move on. This is a comedy show. Let's do it." And then just be funny. How about just doing that? No, it was 17 minutes of woe is me.
Serious.
I'm this free speech martyr.
Well, I think that's the biggest issue, was that even if you agreed or disagree with him, you have to believe in free speech or you don't. And if the FCC or Brendan Carr was involved in getting him off the air, then that was disturbing. And then also I saw a Truth Social post from President Trump saying that ABC had assured him the show was canceled. So imagine a president saying they were assured by a network that a show was canceled. This feels like it blurs the line of free speech and politics, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And to me, that's the larger issue that needs to be discussed here, as opposed to the emotions he did or didn't show.
I don't mind discussing that. Let's just see what is the power of Brendan Carr and the FCC and even Donald Trump. Well, it lasted about 4 days that Jimmy Kimmel was off the air. He's right back on the air. So clearly, there's not a whole lot of power that the FCC has to dictate the free speech and the free market decisions that ABC is making. In fact, I think this is actually the system working. ABC. Clearly, whether it was a bunch of celebrities signing some letter saying that we're never going to come on your network unless you put our friend Jimmy Kimmel back on, along with all the other people in the media like Jake Tapper, who hangs out at his house for dinners, saying, we're so outraged by it. This is the biggest, problem in free speech in American history. And they put him right back on the air. At the same time, Nexstar, the owner here up the Hill and of a lot of affiliates of ABC, Sinclair, are making a different decision because maybe they're hearing from different people who are saying, actually, in this cost benefit analysis, we're hearing from more people who are saying, I was really grossed out by that ghoulish comment, not just the single comment about Charlie Kirk, but about his 10-minute monologue making fun of Donald Trump for being, he's like a 4-year-old whose goldfish died. His reaction to, disgusting. So they're hearing from enough people that are saying, actually, we don't really want him back on the air. And maybe after this, maybe some people will say, we're okay, we're ready to move on. And maybe some people won't. But that's how this works. There is no ABC, NBC, CBS. It is a completely different equation than if the FCC would go after something like Fox News or CNN, or if they would go after Bravo because they don't like the Real Housewives. These are public airwaves. This is a broadcast outlet. It's very old school. And you want to take the big paycheck, Jimmy Kimmel, you're going to have to deal with the rules that you're playing by. And in that situation, it's going to be the free market. I think that this is working perfectly, and we're seeing it play out. Consumers have more choice than ever before, including by what they actually see on their, turn on the TV, just free for me. That's what they have more choice than ever before, and that's actually a good thing.
Well, and we've seen how this whole format, the late night, I keep saying, is just not, I think, something that the market is demanding more of, particularly. It is not a format that appeals to young people. It's not the way they get news or information. We're moving online. We're moving to social media. That is the winner. YouTube is king. That is the winner. Stephen Colbert, who everyone assumed was a political decision, more and more reporting seems to suggest was simply a business decision, that it was losing millions of dollars. And probably you could argue the same for Kimmel, but now he's going to be cast as this resistance hero, victim of the government, even if it really was just a market-based decision, feedback from consumers, from customers. I think like Ted Cruz that it would have just been better if Brendan Carr had not said anything about it. It would be better if Donald Trump did not say anything about it other than I hate Kimmel and he's unfunny, and just let the market work it out. The market seems like it's working out, but now we're going to at some point have to have possibly a broader legal confrontation over how much of over what the FCC does get to say about this.
I think that's absolutely right. I do wish that they stayed out of it, and I think they let the market work out. I will make a bold prediction here that Jimmy Kimmel's contract is up at the end of next year. I don't think he'll be staying at ABC much longer, and it won't have anything to do with Donald Trump. To your point, it's not like Stephen Colbert is leaving in May and they're replacing him with, Joe Rogan or Theo Vaughn or, the Stephen Miller Comedy Hour. No, they are completely shutting down the late night TV franchise. They're like, this doesn't work anymore. No one's watching, and not enough people. We're spending $100 million and we're losing 40. That's not going to be sustainable. So that's what we're watching here. It is, even if Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert were really funny and we're just connecting with people on such a smart level, and we're really open. I mean, listen, their business model is you need a lot of people to watch. This is not some kind of like a niche thing here. Even if they were doing that every single day, there are fewer and fewer people consuming television in the way that these companies need them to in order to sustain this business model. So absolutely, I wish that we just the Colbert thing. He's trying to draft off this. It's Trump. It's not Trump. You're getting off the air because of you work for a dinosaur and the meteor's coming. So that is what's really happening here. I think that will happen with Kimmel. And you're right, for appearance purposes, I think the narrative is now going to be that when Jimmy Kimmel is taken off the air next year, that Trump and had some sort of that he's this free speech martyr. That is not the case. And we should be honest about kind of what really is at play here.
Yeah, we're going to be following this closely because obviously the conversation is not over with the FCC and the president, right? So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon. Harsh words and serious threats from President Trump. as he completely changes his stance about the war in Ukraine. We'll talk about that right after the break. Stay with us.